Good morning, Ryley. How are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Do you go by Ryley Tate Wilson? Because if the music doesn't work out, that's a good radio name, and you could be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I do go by Ryley Tate Wilson. Ryley Tate just casually, but I don't ever do Ryley.
I love the rhythm of that. Now, is that the Southerner coming out in you? Because the name and then the middle name usually go together.
Yeah, double name is definitely pretty Southern, but I don't know. A lot of people just call me Ryley, which I don't like. I like the way that my name flows, especially if I want to do music, because I haven't ever encountered another Ryley Tate Wilson, but I've met Ryley, and I've even seen Ryley Wilsons.
I love the idea that you're visualizing that, because it's the same thing with a name like Arrow. I had to sit there and go, okay, is there another Arrow out there? What's going to happen? You can't stay in the future when you're creatively involved with what's going on.
Okay, yeah. I haven't thought about that, but yeah, I definitely am trying to keep my name. I don't necessarily have a stage name, so I really want my name to be recognizable. So I think having the double name and the last name is more recognizable than just Ryley.
I got to tell you, I've got some serious love for Montgomery. And the reason why is because it was one of the very first cities to pick up my syndicated show. And I have always, always, always loved that city for doing that.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, there's definitely, I listen to the radio all the time. I have a record player in my room that has a radio on it, and sometimes I just turn it on and see what's going on. But there's a lot of really cool radio stations down here that I've been listening to since I was really young.
Because it's authentic, dude. I mean, every thing and everybody in Montgomery is so authentic. They're not candy coated with plastic bathroom mirror smiles.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, people are that's not just Montgomery, but in the South, it's very like people say what they mean, people say what they want to say. Yeah. And sometimes it gets them in trouble. It gets me in trouble sometimes, but yeah, I in the long run, I think that's better than people just saying what they think you want to hear.
Now, being here in the South, we have Bojangles. Has Bojangles opened up near you guys?
Yeah, we have a Bojangles.
Nice.
I haven't been, I have never tried it. I don't know if it's good or not, but we have one like 2 miles from my house.
See, that to me is Southern. I see when we talk about being in the South and stuff like that, there are certain things that nobody else in the country has, and it's like, yeah, you're from the South. I love that.
Oh yeah. Bojangles, yeah, Bojangles, Milo's, yeah, places like that.
You and I have something in common, and that is that we created drum sets when we were kids. I had my Lincoln logs, I had my boxes, my garden hoses, shingles from the roof.
Oh,
what
cool.
all did you create your drums out of?
So yeah, that's funny. I was just talking about this. I had a little metal dog bowl that like my dog used to eat out of that I turned upside down, and I had Tupperware containers and like pots and pans, and I played with chopsticks on them. Like not good at all, but I like beat the crap out of that thing and followed my mom around the house.
Did your parents accept that side of your musical thing? Because my father never understood why I was pounding on boxes, but I hear music all the time.
Yeah, so my parents were super supportive of that. My mom was like, Lord, make this music to my ears, because she wanted to support me. But I could understand that it was very annoying to hear that. But yeah, my whole family has always been super supportive of me, no matter what I've done. I think that's super important to have.
Yeah, your mom. That support you. Your mom created that keyboard for you. Do you still have that? I mean, by now you should have framed it and hung it on the wall.
Yeah, no, see, we don't have that anymore. That was just a cute story that we had. But she drew a little keyboard for me on cardboard. She drew a keyboard, I can't speak right now, on cardboard for me. And I played it, and I swore that I could hear the notes.
Yes.
And yeah, it was super cool. I wish I still had it.
When it comes to musical instruments, do you have something from the past in the way that you know that it's speaking through you? Because I have a piano from 1868 in my dining room, and I love touching that piano, and I love listening to it, even though it sounds nothing like modern day music.
Yeah, I love, I have my dad's old guitar from when he was a teenager. He was he doesn't have any rhythm, but he could play lead guitar just by soloing a lot. And I have his old guitar. It's got like the fretboard has got all the wear and tear in it from being
Yeah.
played for 30 years, and the body's gotten like distressed up where it's been leaning on like under your shoulder and like on your knee. Um, and some just the fact that like this instrument has been being played for like 25, 30 years, I definitely get what you're saying about like an old instrument. It sounds like it's got a story behind it.
Oh my God, guitars speak loudly, and like with my Ibanez Flying V that I bought when I was 16 years old, that
Wow.
that guitar strap broke and it fell to the floor. That mark in that guitar is still there, and it just takes me into that moment of what it was like to be a part of a garage band.
Yeah. I'm looking for. I've finally started getting money from the show and can start like upgrading from my old music stuff. But I want to buy like a used vintage guitar like tube amp,
Hmm.
because things like that have they've been like the tubes have been used for so many years, and they have like where I just think they're gorgeous. Like old guitar amps are just they're beautiful. I want to buy one.
Those amps are so important because my wife's ex-husband is a record producer, plus he was also a studio musician, and I kept going, Bruce, why are they hiring you? And he says, the amplifier, dude, they want the sound from my amplifier.
Yeah, that's definitely very sought after to have like the old, Fender, Box, or Marshall amps that have this like warm, gritty tone that is just unique to buying a new amp.
Now, with you producing music, are you using some tape, or what are you doing? Or what are you using? Pro Tools? What do you got going on?
So I wish I started on a different DAW than I'm using now. It works for me. I mean, it's worked. It's called FL Studio.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, it's a lot of people use it. It's mainly used in rap and R&B. It's like the industry standard for like rap and R&B and things like that. But I I wish I could upgrade to. I wish I started on like Logic or Pro Tools,
Yeah.
Ableton even, um, because that's just what is mainly used. And if I'm working with another producer, I could send them a track instead of having to. I could send them a whole project
Yeah.
that I'm working on instead of having to send them individual audio tracks from my project. But it's not that I don't think that there's a reduction in like the quality of music that I can make with this. It's just like that not as many people use this. So when I'm working with other producers and songwriters, I can't just send them ideas as easily as I could if I was using a different DAW.
Riley, Tate, don't you love that journey that you take when you're sitting there in that chair? Because I mean, it's like your imagination is in a completely different universe, and you know what you're looking for, you know what you can bring to it, but there's just some sort of innocence that's right there when you're about ready to hit play and record.
Yeah, for sure. This is a niche thing. I don't know if a lot of people would get this, but just like staring at a blank project in a DAW, like the fact that I could make absolutely anything right
Yeah.
now. Like I could make any song that comes to my mind right now and have it recorded in a way that I could listen back. Like I don't know, just the fact that that is possible, like
Mhm.
with technology, is kind of crazy if you think about it. That like me speaking can be put into something and then play back to me, and me playing my guitar can be put through these wires into my DAW and play back to me, and I can mix different frequencies and do all these really intricate things is super cool. And I love producing my music. It's one of my favorite things to
Oh,
do.
it's such a connection. It's a collaboration with the creative side as well as the walker of the planet. In other words, you're like a silent wolf. You see things happening in life, and then you bring it to life on inside that music machine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Are you afraid of AIs? Because I mean, look at what they're doing with speeches and other things in life, and I feel like that we're going to start hearing some AI music that has nothing to do with humanism, but rather that computer.
Yeah, I've experimented a lot with using AI in my own music.
Yeah.
Not to like write, but there's a lot of useful ways to use AI, like Chat GPT. I know a lot of people have been talking about that mainly a lot now. But like I could put in there like help me generate a jazz chord progression in E flat,
Yeah.
and it can list hundreds of different chord progressions that I could use in E flat, and like these are chord progressions that have been used. Like I don't think that is necessarily something that AI is doing that only AI can do, because you could find that in music books, you could find that in a lot of different things, but it's making it more accessible, like on a whim. Because when I'm in a creative process, I don't want to have to Google a ton of things, or like I don't know. Sometimes when I'm writing, I want a quick chord progression to write to instead of having to spend hours coming up with the perfect sounding thing. But when people start using it to like write full songs,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I know right now I'm not really scared of that because they don't sound good at all. But down the line, things could get more advanced, and there could be people who just have no talent that are now writing. I say writing in quotes, but making music just through AI.
How do you keep the perfectionist at bay? Because when you're in control of the engineering that's happening, I mean, that perfectionist can sit there and say, let's tweak this, let's tweak this, let's do this, let's move this.
Yeah, I've definitely struggled a lot with that. Mainly, I've just trying to make I had this idea that my music has to sound, aesthetically and quality wise, how these $1 million songs sound in these studios. And when that's not true, and there's there are artists out here that are not in those studios that don't have their songs sounding like that are very successful. And I think that just the realization that my music doesn't have to sound like that is really good, and it's helped me just do what I want to do instead of do what I want other people to be impressed by. Like, oh, this mix is amazing. Just mainly other producers that random people wouldn't notice, but like other producers would know, like, oh, this mix is amazing, when really I don't have to do anything for anyone else, because if I like how it sounds, then that's all that really matters.
Did you ever go through a stage where let me set this up in a way that I had a national consultant tell me, quit teaching people how to edit their voices for commercials. They need to read it all the way through, because you're teaching them how to quit. As an editor, and when I do things for to vocalize for commercials, I do edit, and so, but as a performer, and you're in that editing chair, how do you go do a live show like NBC's The Voice when you know that if you make a mistake, just stop?
Oh yeah. I see. I don't know if I'm having trouble figuring out your question. What you're saying?
Yeah, because
how do I?
Yeah, you don't stop singing when you're on NBC's The Voice. But I know as an engineer, when you're sitting there in that room and you've got the power of editing, if I make a mistake, I stop and I just redo it. So now you got to take it to a live stage, and it's like, oh, I don't have that net underneath me anymore.
Yeah. So they definitely do a lot of things. I'm sorry, that was really loud. They definitely do a lot of things to my voice if I mess up. Minor things, like if I'm a little flat on a high note, they'll tweak it a little bit. But if I have a large mess up, it's just there. So I guess I gotta just forget that it happened, and just move on to what's next. Because if I focus on the mistake I just made, then the rest of the song could be bad after that mistake.
And isn't it odd what we feel when something did not go right? I mean, it's like we instantly feel it. And like you said, you've still got to go on. Keep going.
Yeah. It's definitely something I've had to make sure that I don't have tunnel vision on like a note that's coming up, or a note that I just missed a few notes back, because I'll just stop thinking about the rest of the song, when really you could make up for it if you just put your heart into the rest of the song, because you can do so well with the rest of the song that people forget about that note that you missed.
That's right. Well, as a program director told me one time, he says, if the listener hears you make a mistake, they're going to say, wow, he's one of me. And, because, we all sing out of tune. We all miss a beat. But, and so listeners will, which they say is the reason why the music of the 50s and 60s is still around, because it wasn't perfect. And we accept that.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely see what you're talking about there with, there's artists like even Lady Gaga at the Oscars singing her song from the Top Gun movie,
Yeah.
where I don't know if you've seen that, but where she it was not perfect performance at all. And she did that on purpose. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She was sitting
Yeah.
in on a bar stool at the Oscars of all places. And she just had a little shirt SM57 in her hand and was singing this song. And it was, I don't know, it was just something about the fact that an artist that big at a plate on a stage like the Oscars is singing with, no tuning, just a dry vocal and giving a performance instead of just a perfect vocal
Oh,
take.
you speak my language. A performance. That's like these people that'll say, "Yeah, I've got a gig tonight." You what? I have a gig. You have a performance tonight. It's not a gig. That means you don't care.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now, what are you going to do when Niall reaches out to you and says, "Hey, Ryley Tate, I need you to produce my next song"?
See, if that happened, I couldn't take that on. I don't know if I could take that on. And he's working with some of the best producers in the world, and I'm definitely not up to that caliber yet, but maybe one day.
So do you see yourself as being a Calvin Harris or an Ed Sheeran? Because what you're doing is everything that they're doing. I mean, you are the whole deal, dude.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I want to be, I think I want to be all the things. I want to be a producer, songwriter, singer, actor,
Yeah.
all the things. I think I have a lot of passions, and I need to kind of pick, I don't know, not necessarily push the other ones away, but pick one and focus on it. And I think that singing, and I think mainly the goal is musical theater.
Mm.
What I would love to do is because the singing and acting together and just that side of performing is really where my heart is and really what I would love to do for the rest of my life.
Well, this generation loves their musical theater. I was so afraid when I was a kid that all of those movies that my parents were watching were going to go away. But oh my God, no, man. I mean, people love music and acting in the same flick.
Yes, they definitely do. I'd love, the dream is Broadway for sure.
Oh, man, what a journey you're on, dude. Where can people go to find out more about you and to really tap into your growing success?
So I have an Instagram. That's where I update all of my stuff and all of, my musical journey and tease little music releases and stuff. I post a few times a week on there, and it's at @it's_Ryley Tate. Ryley spelled Ryley.
That's it. When I saw that, the way that they spelled it on NBC's The Voice, I went, "That's original. That's not how most people spell it."
Yeah, I'm thankful for that.
Are you practicing your signature? Because you're going to be signing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've already been signing a good bit of things. So yeah, my signature is kind of down packed now.
Oh my God, dude, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
All right, thank you so much for having me.